All right, I need you to just picture this. It's a typical Tuesday morning in the quiet, tree-lined suburbs of Willow Creek, California, back in the spring of 1998. The sun is shining, birds are chirping, and everything seems perfectly ordinary. But for the family of Emily Hayes, that day would forever mark the beginning of an agonizing, decades-long nightmare. Emily was a vibrant 28-year-old known for her infectious laugh and her passion for photography. She lived in a small, cozy house, a place where she felt safe and secure. On that particular morning, Emily was last seen by her neighbor, waving goodbye as she left for her usual morning jog. She was wearing a bright blue tracksuit and her favorite running shoes. Her car was still in the driveway, her front door locked, and her coffee mug sat half empty on the kitchen counter. Everything pointed to a routine day, but Emily never came home. She simply vanished. Her boyfriend, worried when she didn't answer his calls, found the house exactly as she left it, undisturbed, no signs of forced entry, no struggle. It was as if she had walked out her front door and simply evaporated into thin air. The initial hours turned into frantic days of searching. Police combed the jogging trails, knocked on every door, and launched extensive aerial searches. Volunteers from the community joined in, desperate to find any trace of the missing woman. Flyers with Emily's smiling face blanketed the town, but they yielded nothing. The initial anguish of her family was palpable. Her parents, consumed by grief, pleaded for any information, any clue, but there were none. No witnesses saw anything suspicious. No ransom notes arrived, no financial activity. Emily Hayes, a young woman with a full life ahead of her, had become a cold case, a ghost in the system. The investigation quickly hit dead ends, leaving detectives frustrated and the community haunted. The lack of evidence was baffling. It defied logic. How could a person just disappear without a single trace in broad daylight from a quiet neighborhood? Years turned into decades. The case of Emily Hayes became a whispered, unsolved mystery in Willow Creek, a cautionary tale. Her file grew thick with reports and theories, but remained untouched, gathering dust in the archives. Hope faded, replaced by a lingering, creepy question that plagued everyone. What truly happened to Emily Hayes on that perfectly ordinary Tuesday morning? The silence stretched on, a heavy shroud over a family's enduring pain. For 25 long years, the case of Emily Hayes lay dormant, a file gathering dust, a family's heart aching with unanswered questions. The community of Willow Creek had learned to live with the chilling mystery, a quiet acknowledgement that some people just vanish without a trace. But then, in the summer of 2023, something happened that shattered that long-held silence. A new lead emerged, utterly unexpected, and it came from the most unlikely of places. The breakthrough didn't come from a dramatic confession or a hidden witness suddenly appearing. Instead, it was a quiet, meticulous detective in the cold case unit, Detective Anya Sharma, fictional name, who decided to take a fresh look at Emily's file. She was relatively new to the department, bringing a fresh perspective and, crucially, an intimate knowledge of advances in forensic technology. As she reviewed the decades-old evidence, one item caught her eye. A small, almost microscopic fabric fiber found tangled in a loose thread near Emily's front door on the day she disappeared. It had been collected, cataloged, and then, due to the limitations of 1998 technology, deemed inconclusive. But 2023 was a different world. Detective Sharma submitted the tiny fiber for reanalysis using cutting-edge DNA sequencing technology that simply didn't exist in the 90s. The results came back a few weeks later, and they sent a jolt through the entire department. The fiber contained trained trace DNA, and it yielded a partial match to an individual in a national criminal database. This wasn't Emily's DNA or any known family members. It belonged to a man named Robert Miller, fictional name. Miller was a local, known to police for a string of minor burglaries in the late 90s, but he had never been connected to violent crime, let alone a missing persons case. He had moved away from Willow Creek years ago and lived a quiet life in another state. The partial DNA match wasn't enough for an immediate arrest, but it was the first tangible clue in over 2 decades. It was a single, fragile thread, but it was strong enough to pull. The reopening of Emily's case sent a ripple of hope and renewed fear through her aging parents. Hope that they might finally get answers. Fear that those answers might be more horrifying than they could ever imagine. The cold case, once dismissed as unsolvable, was now burning hot, powered by a tiny fiber and the relentless pursuit of a detective. The silent, strange, dark, and mysterious void that had swallowed Emily Hayes for so long was finally beginning to whisper secrets. The partial DNA match to Robert Miller was the spark that ignited a quarter-century-old cold case. Detective Sharma, alongside a newly assembled team, moved with a calculated urgency. Miller, now in his late 40s, was living a quiet, unassuming life hundreds of miles away. Authorities executed a search warrant on his current residence, and the initial findings were grim. Among his possessions, tucked away in a dusty old photo album, they found a blurry, almost unrecognizable photograph of Emily Hayes, taken from a distance. It was a detail so small, so innocuous, that it might have been dismissed years ago. But now it was chilling proof that he had known her, or at least observed her. The investigation accelerated, powered by modern forensics and relentless detective work. They revisited old phone records, digitally enhanced, grainy surveillance footage from a gas station miles from Emily's home, and cross-referenced every person of interest from the original 1998 investigation. The picture that began to form was far more creepy and calculated than anyone had ever imagined. The shocking truth finally began to unveil itself. Robert Miller wasn't just a petty burglar who happened to be in the area. He was an obsessive and meticulous planner. His burglaries were often pre-planned, involving extensive surveillance of his targets. He had been casing Emily's neighborhood, not just for valuables, but for Emily herself. His motive wasn't robbery, it was a deeply disturbing fixation. On that fateful Tuesday morning in 1998, Miller had been hiding near Emily's home, waiting for her to leave for her jog. He hadn't broken in. He had ambushed her shortly after she stepped out, overpowering her swiftly and silently. The key was that tiny fiber found near her door. It wasn't from a struggle inside the house, but from Emily being dragged away from it, snagging on a loose thread as she was pulled. Her car was left, the coffee mug untouched, creating the perfect illusion that she had simply vanished mid-stride. Miller had then transported Emily to a remote, abandoned cabin he owned deep in the Redwood National Park, a place he used for hunting and had meticulously prepared. There, the unthinkable happened. The details of her last moments were pieced together through recovered digital fragments from an old, discarded hard drive of Miller's, which, with cutting-edge data recovery techniques, revealed deleted files and timestamps too horrifying to fully describe. Emily Hayes, the vibrant woman with an infectious laugh, had been held captive, her life brutally taken in the isolated wilderness, far from any prying eyes. The revelation sent shockwaves through Willow Creek and across the nation. The once trusted neighbor, the quiet man from the criminal database, was unmasked as a cold-blooded predator. The years of agonizing uncertainty for Emily's family were replaced by a devastating yet definitive, true story of what happened to their daughter. The case of Emily Hayes, once a frustrating unsolved mystery, was finally solved, but the darkness it unveiled was profound. The moment the news broke, that Emily Hayes' cold case was finally solved and Robert Miller was in custody, a wave of conflicting emotions crashed over Willow Creek, and most profoundly over Emily's parents, Helen and George Hayes. For 25 years, they had lived in a purgatory of unanswered questions, clinging to the fading hope that their daughter might one day simply walk through the door. Now, that hope was extinguished, replaced by the devastating certainty of her murder. The relief of knowing the truth was a fragile thing, instantly overshadowed by the agonizing pain of reliving the horror and the crushing reality of their loss. Helen often spoke of a second wave of grief, far heavier than the first, as the abstract nightmare became a horrifyingly concrete true story. Robert Miller's arrest and subsequent trial became a national sensation. He was charged with kidnapping and murder, and the meticulous evidence gathered by Detective Sharma's team, particularly the advanced DNA forensics and the recovered digital files, painted a damning picture. Miller, cold and unremorseful, eventually pleaded guilty, avoiding a lengthy trial. His confession, stark and chilling, offered little comfort to the Hayes family, revealing only the calculated nature of his actions, driven by a twisted, creepy obsession. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would never again walk free. Justice, though agonizingly delayed, had finally been served. The fallout, however, extended far beyond the courtroom. The community of Willow Creek grappled with a profound sense of betrayal. Miller had lived among them, a seemingly normal individual, while secretly harboring such darkness. Neighbors struggled with the knowledge that a monster had walked their streets undetected for so long. The case became a stark lesson in vigilance, prompting local police departments to revisit their own cold case protocols and invest in advanced forensic training. It also spurred conversations about the stranger danger that could lurk even in the most idyllic suburban settings, revealing a strange, dark, and mysterious undercurrent beneath seemingly peaceful lives. For Helen and George, the resolution brought a different kind of burden. While they now had answers, the trauma of knowing how Emily suffered and the decades of not knowing fundamentally reshaped their lives. They became quiet advocates for missing persons' families, using their own painful experience to support others still trapped in the unsolved mystery of a loved one's disappearance. They found a fragile peace in ensuring Emily's story helped others, a bittersweet legacy for their beloved daughter. The chapter on Emily's disappearance was finally closed, but its lingering echoes would forever resonate in their hearts and in the quiet streets of Willow Creek. As we stand here in mid-2025, the story of Emily Hayes, once a chilling unsolved mystery, now serves as a powerful testament to two profound truths: the relentless dedication of those who seek answers and the revolutionary impact of modern science. Emily's case is just one of a growing number of cold cases finally unveiled across America, offering solace to grieving families and bringing long overdue justice to perpetrators who believed their secrets were buried forever. The driving force behind many of these breakthroughs is the astonishing leap in forensic technology. The tiny fabric fiber that led Detective Sharma to Robert Miller was once considered insignificant, but advancements in DNA sequencing can now extract crucial genetic material from the most minute traces, unraveling mysteries that baffled previous generations of investigators. Digital forensics can recover data thought to be permanently deleted, piecing together timelines and motives from the digital shadows. These innovations are not just tools, they are beacons of hope, constantly pushing the boundaries of what was once thought impossible, giving a voice to the forgotten ghosts. But technology alone isn't enough. The resolution of cases like Emily's is also a powerful tribute to the unwavering perseverance of countless individuals. Detectives who refuse to let files gather dust, poring over old reports with fresh eyes, forensic scientists who push the limits of their fields, and most importantly, the families of the victims, who for decades have carried the immense burden of uncertainty, never giving up on the hope for answers. Their relentless advocacy often keeps these cases alive, ensuring their loved ones aren't truly forgotten. Their commitment transforms profound personal tragedy into a true story of resilience and determination. Yet, even with answers and justice, these resolved cold cases leave a lingering shadow. They force us to confront the creepy reality that darkness can lurk unnoticed in the most ordinary places, and that evil can hide behind a seemingly normal facade for an astonishingly long time. The knowledge that a Robert Miller could operate in plain sight, concealing such a horror story for 25 years, fundamentally alters our perception of safety and trust. It's a sobering reminder that the world, even in its most mundane corners, can harbor truly strange, dark, and mysterious secrets. The story of Emily Hayes, and countless others like hers, is more than just a crime narrative. It's a profound reflection on the enduring human quest for truth. It teaches us that even when silence stretches for decades, the echo of a forgotten life can still be heard, amplified by new discoveries and unwavering dedication. These unveiled cold cases are a powerful promise that no matter how long the shadows stretch, there are those who will relentlessly pursue the light, ensuring that the forgotten ghosts finally find their peace and the truth, no matter how chilling, is ultimately revealed.